you say so.
Well, I do say so. Well, hey Kyle. What's
Oh, hey there.
welcome welcome to this. What is this? What is this?
It's the pod of the nerd.
Mm. Mm. Wow, that was beautiful. That was beautiful.
Hmm.
I if you're asking my opinion, I think what we
I'm
should do,
not.
well, I think we should call it Nerd Pod, but we should replace the E with a 3 so that way people realize that we're really nerdy.
I don't like it. That'll never take off.
Yeah, I don't think that will. I also think it's a really smart idea for us to make the like tagline of the podcast to be trust only in the pod.
No one's gonna get that reference.
I don't think anybody is. Yeah, you're right.
No.
Well, welcome to Nerd Pod, or whatever Kyle feels it should be named instead. My name's Dak. That's Kyle. Right over.
I'm Kyle.
Is it flip flopped? No, right over there. Wait,
Well,
fingers.
on my screen,
There you go.
you're above me, and so I don't know how it looks.
Well, that speaks a lot to where you are in life right now, mentally. So, you know, seems like a you problem, my brud. Brud.
Mm.
Bro, brud.
Brud?
Bro.
Brud?
Bro, bud.
Oh, I haven't heard
Brud.
that.
Well, that checks out. Anyways.
Okay.
Hi, guys. Welcome to Nerd Pod. Kyle, what, how was your week?
How was my week? It was okay.
Same.
I
Yeah,
just
honestly.
uh just worked out of town a lot. That's
Yeah.
kind of the highlight, other than got to watch Ahsoka. Not in the watch party with you guys, unfortunately, but
Yes.
I did watch it the day after, which was going to be the
Technically
original
the
day of the
original
watch
day.
party
Yeah.
until they changed it.
Yeah. Have some
I wonder
fun.
why they did that.
Um,
Like, why promote it as this day for so long and then
yeah.
change it like the week before?
I don't know. I don't know if they were just trying to like I don't know. I don't know. I really don't. There wasn't really any other like show premieres or anything like that to justify changing it. So, no
Hmm.
clue. But it was weird, but I liked it. Um, yeah. And that's the whole podcast. Thanks guys. We both liked it. See you guys later.
Aloha.
Yeah. Play the extra. Anyways, yeah. So, it was great. It was cute, quirky, and fun. It was a fun little watch party. You did miss out. It was just me, Matt, and Damon, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, but that was pretty fun. And then we did figure out, of course, that the Disney watch party feature does work pretty well, though.
That's
So
good.
yeah,
I'm glad
everybody
it
was synced up.
worked out. Nothing went wrong.
Yeah.
Are we doing it for
Mhm,
episode 3?
mhm.
Okay,
Just figured we'd do it, weekly. Give a reason,
that sounds good.
given reason for people to get their fucking asses into our Discord now that we have a nice, fun,
Oh,
cute,
I
quirky,
love
and cool.
our new Discord, by
Don't
the
you?
way.
Don't you?
It's so
It
nice,
so is. It's so cool.
easy to maneuver through.
Everything is just like set up perfectly, which is why we hired out because Lord knows Kyle and I could not have figured that out,
I would have never been able to
ourselves.
do that,
Yeah,
ever.
me neither. Me neither. So yeah, I guess we should give a quick little shouty outy to Jules. Um, so Jules is actually a good friend of one of my friends, somebody who we're going to have on the podcast here soon. Snips, now that we're talking about Ahsoka stuff. But yes, so my friend Snips had reached out to me after we did our little blurb discuss last episode where I just
Mhm.
kind of said, help us. Um, so she reached out to me and said that her really good friend Jules does this like just as a side thing, and really comparable and competitive pricing. I think we only paid like $15 and have a, whole ass Discord set up with all the you know, bells
The
and
bells and the
whistles.
whistles.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Um she sets up all the bots, everything like that, which I forgot to bring Carl back in, but Carl's back. Got Carl again.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. But yeah, all that being said, um this time if we remember, that's a word. If we remember, there's the word.
I remember.
Um, if we remember, we'll put the link to Jules' Fiverr.
Fiverr.
Yep, Fiverr page. We'll put that down in the bio, and then pod description. Um,
Yeah.
I know it'll be on the YouTube video. I can know I know how to do that. That I don't know how to do the podcast, thing. So that'll
I'll
be
do that. I'll
okay.
figure that out.
Yeah.
Just send it to me. Yeah,
This this podcast is pretty much
it's super
just
cool.
compromises between two adults at this point. Um anyways, yeah. So she did a really, really phenomenal job. I mean,
Mm.
it looks nicer than some of like the professional like streamers discords. Like our Discord is just so nice. Um excited to hang out, with everybody there and talk about shit, shoot the shit
Yeah, come join our Discord. There will be links and all that mumbo jumbo
in the
stuff.
places. And
Yes.
maybe I'll cut it out if I can get it to work. But if you're listening to this today, it's a special release. We released late, not really early. We released late. But anyways, thank you for joining us on this Monday, unless I need to cut this out because I can't get it to upload. Welcome for joining us on this Monday. Glad you could hang out with us. This episode, we're probably going to be talking a little bit, just like a few seconds dedicated to Justice Ahsoka, and then we'll move on. Because, who's got time to talk about that? And why is it even relevant? Yeah. So let's just dive into it. Let's just dive into it
That was
metaphorically.
good form.
Thank you. I don't know how. I don't think I actually know how to dive. Anyways, so Ahsoka came out this week, as Kyle mentioned
Hmm.
early, which was interesting. Um, so yeah, so it's a show, and it exists, and it's on Disney Plus, and that's my review. Thank you guys. It's been a good, fun podcast. Cast, fun podcast.
Yeah, I'm sure that's all you want to say.
That's all. I don't have anything to say. I don't really. Who even is her? Who is she?
Who
Who is this?
even is her?
Who even is her? So yeah, it was really really interesting first two episodes. Pacing wise, I would say it was at the pace level of maybe Andor, and I personally am not complaining, but not complaining in this current moment about that.
Hmm.
Um, and then I don't know. Actually, you know what? What should we break it down? Should we break it down to like categories of what we're going to talk about when it comes to the show?
We can. I don't really want to spoil too much for those who haven't seen it, but we can break it down for sure.
Um, Spoiler alert. I mean,
There'll be a few,
yeah.
but yeah.
If we're gonna talk about it, we kind of gotta spoil it in some capacity. So if you haven't watched it, just pause this, exit the app, so that way it saves your place, whatever you're using. Go watch it. Two
And
episodes,
yeah,
2 hours of your life. Come
hopefully
back.
yeah, hopefully you can catch up and join us for the watch party for episode 3.
Which presumably, if this releases the way it's supposed to be, will be tomorrow night. Tomorrow night at, let's do 7 p.m. again. Wait, no, I was wrong with the time the first time, wasn't I? Yeah, it's
You
8 o'clock.
said at 8 o'clock your
8
time.
o'clock. 8 o'clock Central. Join us on the Discord. We'll use Discord for voice comms, but you do have to have a Disney Plus
Disney
account
Plus.
to be
Yep.
able to do the watch party with us, up to 6 people, I think. Anyways, so yeah, so let's talk about the show. Let's start off with start off with we'll just start off with a story. What did we get out of the first two, you know, episodes, Mr. Kyle?
Uh, I feel like you got a lot of kind of like a short origin story for some of the characters you
Mm-hmm.
might not really know yet if you didn't watch Rebels.
Yeah.
A lot of intros for Hera and Sabine. And then yeah, I mean, it honestly, like, I feel like it started kind of where Rebels left off almost immediately.
So, timeline wise, it actually takes place immediately after episode 7 of season 2 of The Mandalorian. Whatever the episode is, that's the Jedi. It technically
Okay.
takes place like right after that because she had just captured Morgan Elsbeth, and then this takes place like immediately after that. It takes place, I think, 5 years after Rebels. Well, no, that wouldn't be
I
right
didn't
because Rebels was
I
a few
didn't know
years
that.
before. No, that would be right. Yeah, that would make sense. It would make sense for it to take place about 5 to 6 years after Rebels because Rebels was 5 years before the Battle of Yavin, and this is relative to time is not that long after all of that. So,
We know
um,
it's after Return of the Jedi at some point.
yes. Well, yes. So
Kind of.
I mean, I think it was really cool that they opened up by, I think I had mentioned this in the watch party, but it was interesting to see how many ships that were considered like legends, big air quotes there, like legends ships, actually being, reintroduced. The part that was a little bit confusing is why there was such an extensive defense fleet, or why they were building up the defense fleet, where in I thought in like current lore, like current canon, I thought that they were just like getting rid of the fleet, and that's why Leia was like, "Well, Mon Mothma, it's me, Leia Organa." And I'm like, "Whoa, sister, why are you getting rid of all of the rebel fleet?" And then they were like, "Weren't you Darth Vader's son or Darth Vader's daughter?" And then like yeeted her out. And that's like that whole book, Bloodlines. So it's just interesting to me that they're kind of like sidestepping that in a way. I don't know. But back to the gist of it. That opening scene where they did, kind of show us that new ship. We got to see all the like, new Republic people, was kind of cool. Um, I thought it was really interesting that like right out of the gate they were like, Jedi, something seems fishy, and then they were just like
Mhm.
trying to call his bluff instead of saying that they were just like pretenders or whatever else. That was kind of interesting.
I yeah, I don't know. I think Ray Stevenson's
Yeah.
character is my favorite so far.
Seriously? Wow. Yeah.
He reminds me a lot of uh Qui-Gon. Just like
Mm,
the same kind of speech cadence.
yeah.
It's very similar, like just very I don't know, there's something cool, but also like intimidating about him.
Yeah.
And he also kind of seems to, he seems to kind of show some sort of regret for doing what he does, but still has to go out and
Yeah.
do it.
You know what?
And I don't know the relationship he has with his apprentice, like if they're
Yeah.
father-daughter or she's just some
Crazy bitch.
youngling that he saved or what, I don't know, but they are super interesting characters. I
Yeah.
don't know where that's going, but they are super cool.
So she's crazy. She's Looney Tunes. I mean, like, she's like psychotic. And I feel like he's more like, hmm. I don't know, less psychotic. I feel like he's more composed than she is. But it was really interesting to just see like that dynamic play out
Hmm.
even so early in the episode, where I don't know, it seemed like she was still always needing like his approval, if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
was
yeah.
just really interesting.
Even
Um,
when they're with, Elsbeth and
yeah,
she kinda tells her to do something or go I think it was go to Lothal,
yeah.
and yeah, she looks back at him and is like, "Do what she says."
Whereas they kept, you know, saying Lothal, which was kind of bothering me. But anyways, um, and then I think it was immediately after that whenever they started doing like the killbox scene. Did you see like the parallels between him and then like the very first scene we get out of like Star Wars? Like it was very cool. And I think it was Screen what's that channel? God damn it. Who was it? I was watching
Is it
somebody
Screen Junkies or something?
Screen Junkies, I think. Yeah. I think it was. Let me look at my history. I want to give proper credit here, and not steal somebody else's content. Come on, history. Watch history. Screen Crush. There we go. Okay.
Crush.
So, anyways, so Screen Crush actually pointed out that the song that whenever is it Skull? Is that technically
Balin Skull,
Balin?
yes.
Okay, Skull. Yeah. So when Skull's walking through the highway, hallway, when he's walking through the hallway, they actually pointed out that the song that's playing is actually the Imperial March that's had specific notes taken out of it to where it's only playing
Oh,
like every third note, which is so fucking cool.
that's super
Yeah.
cool.
I would also say that the music in that first little like scene reminds me very heavily of like 70s Japanese kung fu movie. Like that very like strong trill of the piano. It's just so cool. Um so yeah. Okay, moving on. So we don't just talk about the first scene the whole time. Uh yeah, so then we got to see our girl. She was at a temple, which we still don't know what, precursor race that was that built the temple. I know that she said it was like built by her ancestors, but I don't know. We'll get into that a little bit more whenever we talk about Cal Kestis and how he ties in, to everything. But I don't know. That was pretty cool. The craziest part in that first little bit too was when those three droids did their like self destruct
Mhm,
sequence.
mhm.
How was it that like meant that it was actually like a Oppenheimer crossover? That those like three little droids caused like all of that,
Yeah,
you
I
know.
didn't think it was gonna be that big of an
I
explosion, and
know.
then it just okay.
I thought it was just gonna be like, oh, she needs to run away. Now she's away, and then she keeps running, and then it
Mhm.
just like does that explosion. It was kind of cool. Uh, and then I think it was also Screen Crushed that pointed out Hu Yang. Is that how you say it?
Huiyan
Okay, there we go.
Huiying? Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't remember how to say it, but yes.
His operating it at a safe distance. How that's very
Mhm.
old school Jedi, and that's kind of they're still trying to like really perpetuate that point that this is not like the old sense of the Jedi that we thought that was. So very cool. Uh, I thought it was kind of I don't know. I thought it was very interesting that they had him in the show, and I knew that like beforehand we kind of knew why he was going to be there, and I was a little bit weary to how they were going to approach the lightsaber question and like link that in to find out who the person was. But the way they did it was very beautiful and
Yeah.
very, very, very cool. And I guess I kind of forgot, even after watching Rebels, that like Hu Yang is like 2,000 years old. Like the dude's probably the oldest
Mhm.
robot that we see in canon right now. which is just sick. But yeah, I don't know. It was just very cool. And then that fight scene we got to see between her and Merrick. Still don't know who Merrick is. There's a lot of bad
Yeah, I know
opinions
we were talking
online.
about it, but
So one
I
of the
don't think
theories,
it's
yeah, go ahead and
Ezra
tell
after
people
the
the
point.
theory.
Yeah, the theory is that it is like kind of like a brainwashed Ezra Bridger, but seeing that Ezra and Thrawn went to the exact same place
Yeah.
and Thrawn's not out, it would kind of be a little bit impossible.
And if it ends up being true, then I'm gonna be so pissed. Like that doesn't make any sense. How would it make
It doesn't.
as I said, Thrawn is the most intelligent person in the galaxy. Like that is like undeniable. If you
Mhm.
base, which we are, if you base the character off of the Legends character. So if that's true, he is the smartest man in the galaxy. So you're telling me the smartest man in the galaxy can get out of whatever this unknown region well, I guess galaxy is what they
Other
ended up
galaxy,
saying,
yeah.
which again, we'll talk about that in a little second. That brings a lot of interesting implications in. But you're
It's
trying to tell
terrifying,
me,
is what it is.
yeah, you're trying to tell me that the smartest man in the galaxy was able to stay in that place, but some teenager who knows how to use the Force was able to get out? It just doesn't make sense.
No,
And why? I don't know. It just doesn't make sense to me. I I could see them turning like Ezra into a dark character. Like I could
yes,
definitely I actually anticipated that. I anticipated that he's going to have frustration or that he's not going to be able to like click with them again after all those years of separation after probably what he felt was abandonment. Um I think that that is going to be a more interesting storyline, and I think that that's where they're going with it. I don't think David, sorry, Filoni, in his infinite wisdom, I don't think that he would be able to like just throw that in there and then all of us just be okay with it. Like he is when he does his writing, he doesn't do anything that's just like, well, yep, that's we knew that was going to happen. Like anytime that he develops these characters that we've seen out of like the you know, animated shows, he always creates a very complicated character on screen. Because even like Ahsoka, whenever we first saw her in The Mandalorian season 2, it wasn't like she's some perfect Jedi human being. Like she still had her flaws, she still had her reservations. I mean, you saw that whenever she refused to uh, trained Grogu, but as we find out later, years later, she obviously trained Sabine. Like, there's a lot of nuance behind it, and I just don't think that Dave Filoni is known for really black and white characters. So I
mhm.
just don't think that it would be that easy. On top of that, you know, granted, whoever's playing him could just be a body double, and it could be somebody else. But there, there's still there's still a little bit of me that actually does think in some capacity that it's going to be like a Star Killer type of character. And I know you don't want it to be that
No,
way. I know. I know.
I
But
really don't think it is.
he's credited. He's credited.
But Sam Witwer's in everything.
Yeah,
So
that's
I
true.
mean,
He's a very
did
well-known
the
voice actor.
I don't even think did Marek, whatever, did he even talk?
No.
So, and we already know the actor in the costume isn't Sam Witwer.
Yeah.
So I don't, I think he's just doing random voices. I
Yeah.
told you that before. I don't, and if it is, I don't think you can do Star Killer. I don't think you can.
Not in that well, I mean, they're pulling people out of, legends all the time, but just
Oh,
subduing them.
the way Star Killer is in
Yeah.
the games, you can't do
No,
that
you can't. No.
in a canon Star
No.
Wars anything because you just destroy everyone like it's nothing.
But let me dream and let me love the idea of the apprentices. Apprentices? What's the multiple of apprentices? Is it apprentices? Apprentice.
I don't know.
let me let me believe in a battle of the apprentice. That's not right. Anyways, yes. So yeah. And then what else? Oh, episode 1. Very cool. We got to see a lot of Easter eggs to tie it into Rebels, obviously. Um I, okay. Sidebar. Do you feel like you would need to at least watch a recap of Rebels before watching Ahsoka?
I think it'd be a good idea.
Yeah. I don't know if it's necessary to get the story that they're trying to tell, but I do think it is highly recommended by me and Kyle. Mainly, I would say just so you can get to love the characters at a higher level and get to understand the characters more than what we've seen.
Like, if you didn't watch Rebels, you're gonna remember Ahsoka as, like, younger.
Yeah.
You're not gonna know who Hera is, you're not gonna know who Sabine is, like, you're not gonna know who Ezra is.
And why it's so
Like,
important that we find Ezra.
yeah,
Yeah.
you're probably not even gonna know who Thrawn is.
No.
Um, so, I mean, I feel like for those that didn't watch, they've done an okay job of kind of
Yeah.
giving you little things about each character that kind of explains who they are, what the main goal sort of is. But, as far as, like, having a connection already with those characters, you wouldn't have it.
You wouldn't be able to see that Chopper was a war criminal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's weird, it's like I could understand every single word he said.
Yeah.
I was like, "Oh, I never noticed that before."
I think so. I've started rewatching Rebels again for a ninth time or something. Just kind of playing it whenever I'm like falling asleep or whatever else. But
Mhm.
in the show, in Rebels, I should say, because they're both shows. In Rebels, you can't actually tell what he says as much as you can in Ahsoka. So I
Yeah, I didn't think
think
so.
that they did that intentionally. But yeah, that Hera and him scene, that was so
Mhm.
cute. That is one of the moments that I actually started crying at, not because it was sad, but just because it was really cool to see like a live action play out of something that I've seen happen countless times on the animated show. I just thought that was cool. I feel like maybe why I was getting so emotional about like the like live action versions of the characters was mainly just because respectfully, um a lot of the live action Disney remakes that we've been getting over the past few years have been not great, shall we say. So I was a little
Balls.
bit worried that they were going to like do some of my favorite cast of characters like dirty, and they did it really well actually.
Mhm.
um the the casting, yeah, let's talk about that.
Perfect.
Casting has been
Perfect.
very weirdly contentious online. Have you noticed that? Like, people
Oh,
have actually, in on Twitter specifically, X, I guess. I'm never gonna
whatever.
fucking call it X, by the way. Okay? You can't type x.com and go to Twitter. You type out Twitter and it takes you to Twitter, which is now calling themselves X. Anyways, on Twitter, it is pretty contentious about their casting choices.
Mhm.
Specifically, where people had the most gripes was actually Hera.
Why?
A lot of people are trying to just say that she only got this role because she was, well, is married to Ian McGregor. And like they're trying to say that that's the only reason why she's Hera. And I think that
That's
like
stupid.
I don't know. I didn't watch Rebels growing up, so I don't look at it in maybe the same rose-colored lenses that everybody else does. But I really fucking love Rebels, and I really love the characters from Rebels. And Hera's dynamic is crucial to the show Rebels, and I think that she is portraying that in a very beautiful and nuanced way in the show Ahsoka. Because yeah, we could have like the same meaningless sarcastic character. And okay. It's also way easier to portray somebody's true over emotion whenever it's animated, but you can't do that as a human. You know what I mean? Like those moments where you have, I don't know, somebody react really overtly and very grandiose in animated shows. It may look one way, but whenever you try to do that live action, it just looks out of place. So I feel like they did a really good job of balancing the Hera-ness and the Hera-isms, shall we say, in a live action way. And I just think that people are being a little bit too critical. I also have a deeper appreciation for the show for the fact that they didn't rely too heavily on CGI as well. And so, the fact that we got a Hera that maybe didn't look or meet people's visual expectations. Same thing with Sabine, sorry. I can't talk today. I didn't sleep very well last night. Anyways, I don't know. I just felt that people's critiques were a little bit dumb, shall we say.
I mean, with that stuff, I don't really listen to any other people's reviews. Like,
Yeah.
I've literally only talked to you about the show.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I don't want other people to like sway my opinion. I thought they did. The casting is fine, and I
Yeah.
totally forgot she was married to Ewan McGregor.
Yeah.
So I mean,
Most people
but
wouldn't
I've seen
know
her in
unless it
other
was
things,
pointed
and she's
out.
been great. So
Exactly.
I don't know.
I also think that she just does a really good job of showing a mature Hera. I think that people
Mhm,
have to like realize that like all these characters that we saw in Rebels, these were all people from like a little bit ago. Like think about how much you and I have changed over just the past 2 years. When you and I
mhm,
met like almost 3 years ago, you and I have changed a shitload since then. So I
mhm.
don't know. I think that that's what's challenging when writing any of these characters, and especially trying to do it in a new and updated form. Like Ahsoka is not the same Ahsoka necessarily that we saw out of Clone Wars. She's not even the same
Right,
Ahsoka that we saw out of Rebels. So why would any of the other characters be the same?
right. She was a teenager in the Clone Wars. Like,
She just
it's
started like hiding and then just started fighting back against, the
mhm,
rebellion whenever she was in Rebels. Or not rebellion, against the
right.
Empire.
I did see that complaint where like, oh, they're playing her or they're having her be too serious. I was like, yeah,
She's like in
she's
her
an
late
adult that's
40s. Yeah.
been through it. So yes.
She's been through it, and she also sees she's one of the only people in the entire galaxy that sees the true threat that is Thrawn.
Mhm,
The people from Phoenix Squadron realistically are going to be the only ones that really, really know how crazy Thrawn is and how truly evil he is. So I don't know. On top of that, though, so let's move along. Let's talk about the tie-ins. So we saw some new powers from Ahsoka that we've not seen from her
yes, I
elsewhere,
texted you the second I saw that.
or any other Jedi, minus one person,
-1.
at least in canon. Not to say that there's not,
Yes, yes.
since it wasn't called Force Echoes back in Legends, it was called something else. But anyways, that being said, so yes, so in that very first temple scene, we got to see that Ahsoka actually knows. I can't remember what they call it in Fallen Order, and I just started replaying Fallen Order.
I think
Force
it's
Echoes, just
Force
Force
Echo or
Echoes.
Sense Echo, one of
Yeah.
those.
So that's new. That's really cool. That
Super cool.
which perpetuates my ideology that Cal Kestis is getting his own show treatment sooner rather than later. And they haven't announced anything beyond just it's in the works. But think about it. We When's the only other place minus Clone Wars that we've actually seen Night Sisters? Fallen Order. When is the only other place that we've seen ancient alien races or ancient races that came before even the Night Sisters of Dathomir. I don't know why I'm struggling so hard to enunciate all of that. Night Sisters of Dathomir. The only other time that we've seen that is Fallen Order. Where did the Night Sisters get all their powers? The Zepho. What are all of the creatures, or what is all the orbs? What is all the ovular, symbolism that's all over that temple room? Probably the Zepho. I genuinely think, because this is what they do. They give us little tiny tidbits. They sprinkle little tiny bits in there that then all makes sense a year later. We got to see a BD unit, not BD1, but we got to see a BD unit in The
Mm-hmm.
Mandalorian.
Mm-hmm.
We got to see that star map room, which, especially after going back and replaying through Fallen Order, looks a lot like all of the Zepho temples.
Mm-hmm.
She talks about the ancient race before even, on her home planet of Dathomir. That's the Zepho. I really, 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 really think we're going to get a tie-in pretty soon with Cal Kestis in some capacity. I said, at least within the next year, you had a little bit more of a narrowed kind of idea behind that. Talk about that really quick.
I don't even remember what I said.
Andor season 2. You said you think he's going to show up in
No,
Andor season 2.
I don't think he's going to show up anywhere.
You think we're going to get little I mean I do think that they have to show him in some capacity, especially because we just don't. So what time? So Survivor takes place 5 years before the Battle of Yavin, right?
Yeah, it's so. Um, I
Because
know
it was 5 years after the
Survivor
Fallen Order.
and Kenobi are the same timeline.
Okay,
They're taking place at the exact same time.
so that does make sense. Yeah, that would be. Would that be 5 years? Or would that be 10 years?
That is 10 years. But I'm saying, like, if they brought
No, wait.
Cal,
It's
could
eight
only
years.
be in
I remember we
Andor.
looked this up.
So
We looked this up on episode 2. It's 8 years. That's what it is.
I just don't know. Like, obviously, he can't. If they want the version of Cal that we know with Cameron Monaghan, he can't be in this Ahsoka, Mandalorian, Boba Fett triangle that we have going on. He has to be
Because he would be
in
in his
the.
40s as well.
It would have to
Yeah,
be Andor. That's
he
the
would,
only place he would fit.
and he would be the exact same age for the most part as Ahsoka.
Hmm.
Yeah. So I
So
don't.
I
That'd
mean,
be
I
very
didn't
interesting.
really. Yeah, I don't know. They might just be sprinkling it in for fans to catch it,
Yeah,
but time and time again, that proves to not be what they're doing, and the
yeah,
character actually ends up showing up.
yeah.
Um, yeah, I mean, you guys know we both love Cal Kestis to death.
Yes,
So if he shows up in a live action anything, we're gonna freak out.
absolutely.
But
I will jump out of my chair.
yeah, I think Andor season 2 is the only place where it makes
Sort of sense
any
for him.
sense. I
Yeah,
honestly wouldn't be surprised if they kill him off.
I could see that. I mean, the thing is that obviously the Jedi Survivors or the Jedi, sorry, Star Wars Jedi game series is now, you know, that just came out again. We haven't had any
Hmm.
Jedi games for 10 plus years before that.
It's supposed to only be a trilogy, so
Yes.
we have to see what happens with that too.
Yes.
But it would be very interesting if he shows up in that, or even if Andor shows up in the video game. You don't know.
Yeah.
That would be cool.
You really don't know. And what's crazy is I know that for a number of years now, the games have always taken a back seat story wise or taken a back seat lore wise as how they play in to the rest of the universe.
Hmm.
Um, Typically the games are just kind of like, oh well, I guess that's now canon. I mean, look at like Starkiller. Like nobody at Lucasfilm
Yeah,
was like, hey, maybe it's not a good idea for us to have somebody that's so powerful that they can pull down an entire Star Destroyer. But we got it.
and
And that was pretty
beat
badass.
Darth Vader
And beat
and
Death Vader
Palpatine.
like more than once.
Yeah,
It was badass, but it was dumb. And it's especially after going back through and replaying Fallen Order, it gives me a lot of a higher appreciation for the games than I've even had before. which is crazy because those two games, Survivor and Fallen Order, are like up there on my top 5 list of all
Mhm.
time. So it's like interesting. The more that you and I have started to nerd out about Star Wars, and the more that you and I have like really started to dive in and nerd out at a higher level with Star Wars, has really, really made me appreciate those two games.
Oh,
Because
so sorry to cut you
no,
off.
you're good.
I just had a thought. What if they put, um, I can't remember her name, the girl from Outlaws, what if they put her in one of these shows?
I bet
Because
they
'Cause she'd
will.
be alive,
I bet they will.
wouldn't
Yeah,
she?
yeah. Because
So that'd
Outlaws
be
takes
interesting.
place after. I mean, it's taking place in this exact same
It's
time frame,
in
right?
between 5 and 6.
5 and 6. Okay.
Yeah, so she could possibly still be alive.
I mean, there's just like there's so much intersectionality right now between like the content
Mhm.
and
It's exciting because you don't know what the hell is gonna happen.
no, it's the same thing with like Battlefront. Like, did you ever play Battlefront 2? Did you
I
actually
played
ever play the
the
campaign?
PlayStation 2 one, yeah,
Okay. Well, okay. So
not the new ones.
so if you do have a chance, whenever you have all this, abundant free time that you clearly do have, all the
Oh,
time.
yeah, totally.
If you ever do have free time to go back and play, I think it's still free to play. If not, I'll give you my login information and you can play on your laptop as long as you just have a controller because you can do that on Xbox. Anyways, uh, Fallen Order. What were we talking about? Oh no, Outlaws. How it ties in.
Battlefront.
Battlefront. Sorry, guys. Jyn Erso. That whole storyline that they play, which is supposed to take
Mhm.
place immediately after Return of the Jedi, as like the final stand for the Empire. Very, 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 very cool. And I genuinely hope that we get to see Jyn Erso in some capacity, since all of that starts to kind of take place right around that
Oh,
same time frame.
she might be in season 2 of Andor as well.
Well, no, because not Jyn Erso. Shit, that's not the right person. Well, that would make sense, right? But
Yeah, who are you
the
thinking
person I'm
of?
thinking of, God fucking damn it. Hold on.
'Cause she's a little dead before A New Hope, so
Yes. Wait, why?
could be any reason.
Got a lot of
I have no
editing
idea
to
who
do
you're
this
thinking
time.
of.
Neither do I now. First person shooter. Iden Versio. God, why do they got to make all the characters so similar names? Anyways, I'm just gonna cut that whole thing. Okay. With all that abundant free time that you have, you should definitely go back and play Battlefront 2 on the next gen consoles, like the newest version of it, because Iden Versio's story is very intriguing. It's just, I don't know. I say all of that. That was a really long winded tangent about games, but it's just really cool to see that for what it feels like in the first time, all of the parts are kind of fitting together. It
Mhm.
feels like everything is actually fitting within the same picture finally, which I don't feel like we ever had before out of Star Wars. Which, love it or hate it, we don't really like Disney all that much, but I thought that was kind of cool that they did that. It feels like even though we're still seeing specific colors or still seeing specific scenes, like it's all starting to fit into the bigger picture finally, to where something doesn't necessarily feel, just because it's based 10 years after what we already had, it doesn't feel like it's outlandish. It feels like it's still grounded within the same universe, within the same galaxy, within the same storyline. Um, and especially if this is what we're getting out of Ahsoka, especially if that's what we got out of two, in my opinion, again, two of the best video games that have come out recently. If that's what we're getting out of the storytelling, I'm just so excited to see where else they take the rest of this.
Mhm.
And I think you and I talked about this a little bit after I purchased some of those High Republic books that I still have not even read. Um, it's even cooler being able to like see what they're going to do with that, because that's like literally uncharted territory at this point. But
Which is always exciting because you just don't,
yeah,
it's not like, with, I mean, we brought it up a million times, but with the Kenobi show
Yeah.
and Rogue One and Andor and all that. You know what's gonna happen.
Yes.
This you don't.
We know
You,
nothing.
like,
Yeah,
you
we know
have to
nothing.
tune in.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't have to, but
No, you have to. If you listen to this podcast, you're gonna watch that fucking content. Um, so Friday, taking a step away from Ahsoka, which it's kind of
sure.
weird. I feel like we both want to talk about it more, but you really need to go watch the show, and then we can talk about it together. Which
Yes.
before we move on to the next point, when we get done with the watch party tomorrow night, presumably if this comes out on time, uh, I would love for people to stay around. We would love to get your guys' live thoughts after the episode. We'll feed that into the next episode of the podcast. I think that'd
That'd
just
be
be
super
good
cool.
content.
I'd like that a lot.
Anyways, so Kyle and I on Friday, Kyle was broken down, lol. Uh,
Sure
so
was.
Kyle was a little bored, and ironically enough, him and I were both watching similar video classes at the exact
Yeah.
same time. That was
Yeah,
so
isn't that
crazy.
so
Dude, when you sent that to me, I was literally about to send you the video I was watching. I was like,
that's
man,
so
this,
fucking
I like
funny.
started typing a message and everything. And then I think I got a call at work, so I just didn't send it to you yet. But
Mhm.
Kyle and I were both actually watching similar videos on just how absolutely atrocious Rise of Skywalker was.
Yep.
And him and I both watched two different creators trash the same show in a very similar capacity. But one of the very interesting things that was pointed out in one of the videos I watched trashing Rise of Skywalker was first off, I guess they had 5 months less to edit everything than they normally do. And I guess they were already cutting scenes from the movie in the middle of production, like in the middle of actually filming. They just started cutting scenes left and right. So,
That's ridiculous.
and to be fair, the script doctor, which Kyle, I don't know if you knew this. I don't know if this talked about it in the video that you watched, but the
So,
script
the one
doctor,
I watched is completely different. It's made by Prism,
mm,
and he basically writes his own script
I
to
see.
kinda keep the content
Yeah.
Disney did, but make it make sense,
Yeah.
and that's what he did.
Yeah.
So he did one for the whole sequel trilogy called of What If. Episode 7, 8, and 9 were awesome, and they're all, like, 45 minutes to an hour long. If you have that kinda time, like, definitely go watch them because
Yes.
I wish those had been the movies that we
It was
got
very
because they
interesting.
make sense. They keep Palpatine, they keep Ben and Rey, they just change some stuff around to make it make more sense.
Yeah. Which, something that I found out of the video I was watching was that um, Carrie Fisher was actually the script doctor for a lot of Star Wars content. And so not only in the first two movies that she was she playing a role in it, but she actually, because she is a well-known script doctor outside of like Star Wars, like she saved several movies, like Sister Act. She came in and like completely saved Sister Act. She did a lot. But because of that, because she had died at that point, she wasn't there to like help kind of narrow it in. And then on top of that, which I just ordered, so I'm excited for that to come in. But in the art book that they did for Rise of Skywalker, apparently the story was going to take a completely different turn. They weren't going to do like this whole Romeo and Juliet weirdness. It was
That
just
was
going to take a
super
completely
odd.
different turn that would have been so much better. But all of that being said, the reason why I pointed out in the first place, it's just they struggled to try and connect what they had with the First Order with what had seen before. It's cool that they're doing these shows to the point where they're starting to kind of finally link that bridge in a sense, but it'll be interesting to see. I don't know. I feel like they did so much damage when they filmed those movies that it's hard to like recover that. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And it'll just be interesting to see how we get to the point of the First Order. I mean, we're obviously already seeing some like remnants of it, but I hope if they do it in a little bit more of a dark way, because that, in my opinion, is what made Andor so great. Was that it showed the Empire as like a truly evil machine that was not just a big bad Sith is in charge. And I
Mhm.
hope that in these shows, especially when they start to show the rise of the First Order, that they actually show the true depravity of the First Order. Like, for example, initially, Finn's character was not supposed to be just a stormtrooper who got in trouble because he didn't kill somebody on a planet. Like, initially, the First Order was supposed to have the stormtroopers only be the best of the best fighters. Anybody that didn't make the cut had to be people like sanitation, had to be people like, diggers. And in the initial storyline, it was actually Finn and a bunch of the other, shall we call it, stormtrooper misfits were sent to labor camp, and then they rose up against the stormtroopers. And to me, that would have been such a fucking cooler, like,
Mhm.
storyline of how you have somebody become a rebel because they fought against the machinations that they thought they were stuck in. Because, especially at the point of the First Order, or especially at that point where they initially had the story, the First Order was there, the Resistance came up afterwards, not the First Order was there and the Resistance was there, kind of like what we saw in the movies. And it's kind of like a chicken before the egg kind of thing, but in the original writing, it was just done so much better. I also think that the writer strikes are probably going to play in pretty heavily to a lot of the content that we're going to get, especially because apparently Bob Iger has a little bit more of a, shall we say, combative approach to the strikers. So I would venture to say that a lot of these people that potentially are on strike at Disney are probably not going to have a job for very much longer, which makes me a little bit worried. But I don't know. We've got so much potential for this next season of Ahsoka, and we have so much potential for where they're going to do the Thrawn movie story. And I guess even then, this also is going to completely change up potentially what we get out of The Mandalorian. Because now this is all kind of taking place at the same time, right?
It's all gonna kinda tie in.
Yeah.
I think there's gonna be a lot of crossover. I don't know what they're doing with, Boba Fett at all.
I don't know what they're going to do either.
Well, I guess he
I
was
don't know if they're
supposed to
going to get him a
appear
season two.
in I don't think they are, but he was
Yeah.
supposed to appear in, season 3 of The Mandalorian and then just never
Yeah. Did he show up
did.
at all? Like, was he
No,
at all?
no, not even mentioned,
Huh.
nothing.
Yeah, that is kind of weird, isn't it? That they like took back, Mandalore and one of the most famous Mandalorians or Mandalorian esques. Huh.
Just yeah, it just
Okay.
seems odd
Kathleen, what's going on, Kathleen?
if you even work there anymore.
Yeah. If you're even there. Um, yeah, very cool. So what else? What else? Nothing much, right? Honestly, it's just been Ahsoka. Uh,
Yeah,
about 4 or 5 days ago. Um, oh, I guess I should, play. Next up, Nerd Network News. Plays out there. I didn't forget, by the way. I didn't forget about that. The one episode we used it. Um, PlayStation came out with I don't know what to call it, a Switch, but with less functionality and less usability. So they're calling it
can't
the
wait.
remote play. Yeah, and that's it. They're calling it the remote play, and it's got a caveat. So yes, it is only $200, which is cool, pretty comparable, pretty
Cheaper than a
affordable.
Switch.
But at least with a Switch, you don't have to physically have the console in front of you or on because it is handheld. So the remote play is pretty much just a screen with a cool remote attached to it. For you to use it, you do have to have a strong internet connection with your PlayStation 5 on. Your PlayStation has to be on for you to be able to use this little device. On top of that, you cannot use headphones on this device because it doesn't have Bluetooth, nor does it have a headphone jack. Unless I'm wrong, based on all the information I saw, there's no headphone jack. So do you know what you have to do, Kyle? You have to go out and buy the $300 $300 headphones that Sony offers as like the wireless headphones, because it doesn't actually work with any other Bluetooth device. It has to be
It's
that
stupid.
specific device. I don't think that there's been a very more perfect example of anti-consumer like products made by a corporation. We've not seen something like that in a while. Sony somehow out appled Apple at their own game, which is just mind boggling. And I think the way that they were going to try and justify it is to say, yeah, but it's only $200. It's only $200 with like very little usability, because from some of this testing that I've seen with the testing models on YouTube, even with a really strong internet connection as it sits currently, it still has major frame drops, major response lag, all this type of stuff that is already kind of working against Stadia, already was kind of working against Xbox Game Pass. And then they somehow, Sony figured out a way to do it even worse, and then throw it out there and be like, yeah, buy it. It's great. I think in that article that I sent you to, somebody said in the comments, they're like, can't wait to see this drop $50 in 1 month.
Probably will.
Yeah. So it's just insane. So I guess to the 3 people that are going to go out there and buy that, save that extra $200 and just go buy a Steam Deck or go buy a ROG 10 or whatever the Asus version is. There's just so much better iterations of that. Or
Mhm.
just don't do any of that and go start to use Game Pass like I do, because it actually works. Albeit sometimes a little bit lagged in response, but it works. I was able to lay in bed this morning and play Fallen Order in my bed on my laptop, which I guess, I could lay in bed and play on my console, but
Yes.
chicken before the egg.
Either or.
Yeah. But that's about it. That's the only interesting news, which, speaking of which, I had somebody comment on that. Just to clarify, it's not just, Kyle and I are not just going to, talk about tech news and shit that doesn't matter to us. We only talk about the stuff that matters to us. So if there's stuff that you want us to talk about or you want us to talk about in the news, Nerd Network news a little bit that we do, just send it to Kyle and I, and we'd love to talk about it. Because outside of that, we don't care. We're just going to Google Star Wars. We're going to Google stuff like that, that matters to us, not random shit. Anyways, that was a long diatribe. All right, let's end out episode 12. So
Is episode 12.
okay. Let's end out episode 12 with predictions of the next episode of Ahsoka.
Okay.
I'm going to put you on the spot and make you go first.
Okay. Well, we know that Sabine and Ahsoka are traveling to find that map that they lost.
Yes.
Um,
Okay, I'm sorry. I completely forgot one of the things that I wanted to talk about. I just remembered. Anyways,
we
continue.
can get to it.
Yes.
I don't know. I sense a lot of like uneasiness between not the Sith, but Balin and Shin
The
and
Great
Elsbeth. Like
Jedi.
I feel like there's no such thing as a great Jedi. Um, I sense like a lot of like dissension and like
Yeah.
kind of weird mistrust there, which I think could maybe not in this episode, but could come to a head.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know. I think I don't know because Hera's kind of on her own with Chopper at this point, so I don't know what's really going to happen there.
She's just a
Um,
high ranking, New Republic
I
official.
guess. Hopefully more lightsaber battles.
Yeah.
Hopefully that. Or I think we're definitely going to get maybe not a montage, but definitely some training with Sabine.
I want a montage.
You don't want a montage
I
or you
do.
do?
I do. I'm a sucker for a good montage, man.
But I could also see like now that I think about it, uh Ahsoka training Sabine and then it like kind of cuts to Balin training Shin.
Yeah.
like kind of back and forth. I think that would be very interesting. I'd like to see some more like magical Night Sister stuff too.
Mm, hmm.
I think I'm always hoping for an Anakin flashback.
You
So
like pull out your notebook. I'm glad you asked me this question, flipping through pages. I also want to see, yeah,
but that's really like it's kind of hard to predict what's going to happen. So
yeah,
that's all I got for that, really. Hopefully more like badass music because the music is
yes. God, the
insanely
score is so
good.
good. I don't who did the score. I haven't
It's the
even.
same guy from Rebels,
Oh, okay, that makes sense. That makes sense. Yeah,
but like when Sabine's riding that speeder bike and that kind of like rock music
yeah.
kind of kicks in, I was like, this is Star Wars, but not, but it's so good.
People griped about that too. They're like, that's not Star Wars. Well, we saw it in Fallen Order. We
It
also saw
is.
it in Andor more than once. So yes. Anyways, those are all good. I like those. Those are all good wants, needs, and desires out of season
Hmm.
2 in the next episode. I agree with you with the Night Sister Magics with a K. Um, I thought that was really fucking cool. Again, it's just really cool. It's cool being able to see the stuff that we saw in video games and the stuff that we saw in an animated series. It's just really cool being able
Hmm.
to see that in live action,
I agree.
especially with, the light and magic aspect of it. Um, I think for me, I definitely think it's going to be cool to see where they take Skull's character. If you want my honest prediction, I honestly think that he actually maybe has a redemption moment or redemption arc, turns good, and
Then she
she,
kills him.
yes, I think is I
I'm
think
thinking
I
the
think she
same
kills him.
thing.
Yep, I do. I think even based on the way that he was talking to Morgan Elsbeth, I think even the way
Hmm.
he was just talking in general, I think that for him, Thrawn's coming back means that he gets to have power, and I think for him, power equals freedom. That he's not stuck in this mercenary trap or stuck in the trap of somebody who I don't know. There's just so much complexity to his character, and it almost feels like his character is searching for meaning. Like his character is almost searching for acceptance because you have to think about the fact that nobody from the New Republic is going to believe that he's a Jedi, or if they do, they're going to believe that he stole that lightsaber and it's not actually a real Jedi. Or you're going to have that aspect of you're not supposed to be here anymore. Like you are an Empire sympathizer. There's just so much behind his character, and I know that how well of an actor Ray Stevenson is and how well of a writer David Filoni is. Like I know that character is not just going to be this black and white villain. Even if we
Well,
get
you
like
can
a
even
Thanos
kind of
style villain.
yeah, you can even kind of tell because they don't have red lightsabers.
Yeah. Which
They're
they
just
looked a
like
lot
even
more
just
orange in
sprinkling.
this than they did in
Yeah,
the
they're
trailers.
orange.
They looked way more
So they're
orange.
just sprinkling that in.
Yeah.
Like they're not completely evil. They're not completely, Sith. There's a little, and even the way she was told to build her lightsaber,
Yeah.
the same way they do it at
Exact same way the
the
Jedi's
Jedi
do it.
Academy. It's the
Yeah.
exact same way. It's not red, it's orange.
Which in deep
They're
lore, the
not.
Sith and the Jedi do build their lightsabers different.
Yes.
Even before the crystal plays into it, it's just built in different ways. So the fact that like
So
Hu
yeah,
Yang
I
said
don't know
this
if they
was
even they
built as a
even
Jedi one is
bled
pretty
the
big.
crystal.
No. Yeah.
I don't think they bled it. I really don't.
I think that that orange color that we saw was a little bit more akin to what we actually saw from Fallen Order. It
Mhm.
was a lot more of like an orange color for sure. I pointed
And
that out.
she and Shin has the Padawan braid.
Hmm.
I've never seen a Sith do that.
No, it's so fucking cool. The thing I remembered that I wanted to talk about that I forgot to talk about, and this is
Mhm.
something that they actually mentioned in this bashing video that I was watching about, Rise of Skywalker. I remember, and I don't know if you remember this, but back when those movies were coming out, there was a lot of questioning. There was a lot of people questioning whether or not it was because there was a female lead protagonist this time. And at the time, a lot of people accused it of sexism, that the reason why people didn't like Rey's character, or the reason why people didn't like the story they were trying to portray, was because it was a female lead. And this was happening right around that same time that we started getting a lot of those Marvel movies that were like very woman forward in a
Mm,
way that wasn't anti-sexist. It was more of like, it was more, to me it was more pandering to the social justice movement that was occurring around the same time, where people said, oh well, because we're going to have these 5 female superheroes joined together, it's going to be this big empowering moment. And then because they focus so much on that moment, they didn't do a good enough job of writing those characters out in a way that they do all the other characters. So it seemed like very sloppy, and it seemed very chicken before the egg kind of mentality. I felt like that's
mm,
why a lot of the female characters that we got out of Marvel were just not up to par and were just badly written. And because they were badly written, they were badly performed, and then it was kind of cyclical. Um, so I have to say that in Ahsoka, they're not doing that. It feels like for the first time in a while, Disney is pushing that social narrative. Disney is pushing this female femme strong force, but they're not doing it in a way that doesn't feel natural, and they're not doing it in a way that necessarily feels flawed or wrong. Like all of these badass female characters finally are showing that they do have flaws. They're human just as anybody else is. Sabine is still completely blinded by her desire to get Ezra back,
mhm.
that then she loses to a very strong Jedi or Padawan because she's so blinded by her singular focus. If this was a Marvel movie, it would just be these two badass bitches fighting against each other, and then one of them gets away. You know what I mean? Like the fact that they're actually adding complexity to it and still perpetuating that narrative that these are strong female characters and this is going to be a strong female focused episode, or not episode, but show, is just
Mhm.
so cool. Um, it's just so cool. I also, again,
Oh,
people are griping about the Ahsoka. Well, why didn't she train Grogu? I, it could be two reasons for me. One of the head lore reasons is because it's a fucking whatever that species is that Yoda is. I just
we
forgot
don't
the name
know.
off the top of my head. Yeah.
There is no name for it.
Oh, there's not.
No.
Oh, well, maybe that's why. The only other 2 times that she's seen somebody of that same race, it's been Yaddle and Yoda, two of the strongest Jedis that we've seen out of all of lore. The second aspect is that was also, she's her own human being. She probably saw, especially if these timelines take place like immediately afterwards, she probably saw her failure, as we're seeing, of how she did not and was not able to train Sabine, and probably didn't want to see that occur with Grogu as well.
Mm.
Like there's two times now where somebody's emotions have gotten before them and caused their Jedi training to stop. We saw it with Sabine, and then before we saw it with Sabine, we saw it with Anakin. 2 times she's seen that. So I I genuinely do believe that I don't believe that this it's some incohesive story. I think that they're showing that Ahsoka is a complex human being and not just some superhero. Like she is a normal person with emotions, with flaws, and she even admits it in that episode. She even admitted her own flaws.
Mhm.
So I'm excited to see where they go with the show. I'm excited to see how it ties into all the other stuff that we love. And I think it's kind of cool that they're doing these tie-ins where you don't necessarily have FOMO. Like they're doing it in a way like they didn't with Book of Boba Fett. They're doing these tie-ins where you don't have to fully watch Rebels and still feel like you can connect to these characters.
There was a I didn't even tell anyone about this, but it did bug me.
Oh,
Every time someone gets stabbed with a lightsaber and ends up living, Qui-Gon Jinn looks like more and more of a little bitch.
that's true. Well, and even then,
Like,
did you notice how her and Qui Gon got stabbed in the exact same way?
yep,
Oh my God, we didn't
yep.
even talk about the parallels between the first episode of
Mhm.
Ahsoka and the first,
It was
first.
very similar to Phantom Menace.
Yeah.
There was a lot there. Especially the
Yeah.
beginning, the first scene, like, very reminiscent.
There's Jedi approaching. Jedi? That literally is like what how it goes in
Mhm.
the first one.
But it's like, I
Yeah.
saw a lot of, because I kinda looked into that, I was like, "Why did Sabine live and Qui-Gon die?" And there was a lot of like, "Well, he didn't even receive any medical attention
Exactly.
for God knows how long," and I was like, "Yeah, that's a very good point."
And didn't we
And it's
see
also
in
way in the future where Qui-Gon's, in the
yeah.
past,
Well, and
so
then on
maybe
top of that,
medical.
didn't we see that Ahsoka does have healing powers as well? Doesn't she have the ability to heal? Didn't we see that in Clone Wars, I feel like? Am I completely wrong here?
I don't
I
recall
could
that
be completely wrong.
because she definitely didn't use it in the show
Okay.
because
Trying to
they
think.
immediately took her to, like, a medical bay sort of thing.
Yeah. Well, we don't know. We saw her running
And then, like, I
at
saw a
one
lot
point.
of, like, "Oh, Qui-Gon was ready to die and he let go," and I was like, "I don't think a lightsaber cares if you're ready to die if it
Yeah.
stabs you," like,
Yeah.
but I do understand that, and, but I was still like, I saw that and I was like, "And Qui-Gon fucking just drops?" But the medical attention I think is
Yeah.
probably the best point because he just kinda laid there for God knows how long,
And then just died. Yeah.
and then
Well, and
yeah.
especially because they're like at the core of the planet too. Like they were pretty fucking far down there.
Mhm.
Whenever you look at like the official companion guide, if you look at like how they break it out, they're at the core of the planet. It's just crazy. Um, I don't know. I think that the tension is palpable. That's for sure. There's the best way to describe the first two episodes is tension. Tension
Yes.
amongst everybody. Tension
Everybody.
amongst what's about to happen. Even that simplistic scene of them flying to try and save her, like that was I remember I was like sitting here like oh god, oh god, oh god, come on, go, 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 go.
I
Get there,
thought they
get
were
there.
legitimately gonna kill Sabine off, and I was like, "No way."
It's just it's
Like, I
very
freaked out.
I can't remember what the specific term is in Hitchcock's movies. There's a specific term to describe this, but it's when you know that there's a bomb underneath the table and you know that it's going to explode and that's revealed to the audience but not revealed to the characters, it adds
Mhm.
this tension and adds this thrillerism without needing to build up to it, compared to if you know something's going to go off and then they also know about it, there's not that same level of tension. You just don't feel it the same way.
I was honestly, in that moment, I was expecting Ahsoka to show up and just kinda fight Shin
Yeah,
off, and then when Sabine got stabbed, I was like, "Oh, no."
I
And then the
know.
episode ends, and I was like, "No fucking
The
way."
episode ends with and all you see is the cut to Ahsoka running towards her. Oh my
Mhm.
god, it was so fucking good. It was so
It was
good.
perfect.
But I don't know, man.
So,
I know that you and
with
I have been
the
really hyper and looking forward to the show. It's two of our favorite characters. Like
yes.
it's just so
So did
fucking good.
you notice uh, I can't think of the word, but the when Sabine cuts her hair,
Yes.
it's very similar to Kanan.
So lore wise, that actually is something that Jedi do before they know that they're going to die or know that their journey is coming to an end. And with Kanan, the thought, well, the ideology behind it was that he had already seen in the Force what was going to happen, and he
Mhm.
knew that that was the outcome. But he did it as a means to, in a sense, also sacrifice himself for that. I don't know if that's foreshadowing. I don't know if that's them foreshadowing that Sabine feels like this is going to be the outcome, or if that's just a way of both of them showing reverence. I don't know, because when she did that whole thing, that technically takes place on the exact same day that
Yep,
all of this went down in the first place.
yep.
I don't think that that was actually known to people unless you did watch Rebels, but especially with the way that they showed the ending of Rebels versus the ending of Episode 2, I think they're really trying to drive home that point that this is an
Yeah.
anniversary of Ezra going missing. This is anniversary of all of that stuff going down. And specifically for Kanan, because especially after rewatching Rebels again, it's even more perpetuated in the show that that is a family. That's not just a group of guys, like that is a family union. And so I think that there's a lot of levels of mourning that that Sabine has, and I don't know if it's because she's foreshadowing like we've seen in other areas, or if that's just simply her showing honor to them. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't think they would have that scene where it looks like she's gonna die and then
Yeah.
actually end up killing her off later. I don't think they're gonna do that. I just think it was a nice little parallel there. Like,
Yeah.
like George Lucas has said a million times, it's like poetry.
Yeah. Well, that, it's just, again, it's just doing all these like little Easter eggs to stuff that we've already seen.
Yeah,
Not
I would
already seen,
definitely
but stuff
like
that we've loved.
one if you haven't watched the episodes yet, watch them and then
Yeah.
go watch Easter egg videos because I think it'll help you kind of understand a lot of what's going on even more
Yeah.
and get a little more like lore drop there. Because like there was a lot of stuff like I caught, and I'm sure I didn't even catch all of it.
Yeah. That's why I'm a little bit more excited for you to be here this week, because
Yeah,
Matt
depending
was
on
working and
what work
Damon doesn't know
does,
what's going
but
on. I love you, Damon. That wasn't supposed to be mean. But yeah, it was really, 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 really cool, and they did a lot of Easter eggs. So I'm excited for episode 2. I'm excited to see where the show goes, and I'm excited to see how this all ties into the movie that we're supposedly getting.
yeah, I know that the next episode's only half an hour, so we're gonna have to hopefully they are able to fit a lot in there.
Yeah, could be more of like a discovery episode, kind of like what we got with the
Mhm.
Mandalorian. Well, anything else? Anything else you wanna add in before we cut this short?
Mm, no, not I think Ahsoka's pretty much
Yeah,
our main focus at the moment until they
honestly,
announce
yeah,
something else. I mean, that's the biggest thing in our world at the moment.
yeah,
So,
yeah. Well,
uh,
um,
I did pre-order Baldur's Gate though.
oh, you did.
Yeah,
I
it's actually
contemplated it.
a really
Oh my
weird
god.
story with it.
Destiny. We haven't even talked about Destiny. Okay, go
Oh,
ahead with Baldur's Gate.
yeah. So like, it's straight. I have a group chat with Cole and some of our other friends, and
Uh-huh.
I was jokingly, I was like, anyone want to send me $75 to like get a video game on Venmo? Because they take the fees out, and like Cole just straight up sent it to me. Like I was
Fucking cool.
kidding,
I love
and
that guy.
like I was like, okay, cool. And then like every other Sunday we have a family night at my place
Uh-huh.
with Tim, who one of my best friends in the world. He has his card saved to my PlayStation because we bought like kind of like trivia little games you can play, and he's bought them on my PlayStation. And I pre-ordered Baldur's Gate and didn't look at the fucking card. And then like my wife checks our bank account like 3 days later. She's like, "You bought that game, right?" I was like, "Yeah, yeah, I bought it. It's pre-ordered." She's like, I don't know if they took it out. And I was like, "Oh, that's weird." So like Wednesday when I finally was able to be home, I checked it and I was like, "Oh shit."
Oh no.
So it ended up being Tim's card. And like I Venmoed everything I had on my bank account to him. I felt so terrible. And he's like,
Yeah.
"You said this wouldn't happen." I'm like, "Dude, I'm so sorry."
Yeah.
And like I just felt so bad. So yeah, I pre-ordered Baldur's Gate with
Somebody
Tim's
else's money.
card after Cole sent me
Yeah.
money
Yeah.
to get it for me because he was like originally gonna get it for me for my birthday,
Hmm.
but it didn't come out until a
Yeah.
month later. So I was just like, well, I'll have it. I'll be able to play it. I just have to pay Tim back.
Yeah.
That's all. What is going on with Destiny?
You know,
What's up there?
we don't have time for that.
We don't have time for that?
Yeah.
Is it a whole big thing?
It's a little bit of a big thing. I don't think that I'm going to be able to get it recorded. Matt and I have not been able to sync our schedules up.
Okay.
Um, I don't think that we're going to be able to get it recorded before this episode comes out, but next episode we'll take a like 25-minute little
Yeah.
detour. Matt
Yeah.
and I will do a little side thing where we just talk about Destiny stuff.
Cool.
Um, yeah, they officially announced the next final bit, the final expansion for the entire Destiny 2 saga. They kind of fully said, "Yep, it's coming to a close. We're going to focus on Marathon," which is good. Um, yeah, it's we'll have to talk about it later.
That's
This next
perfectly
season's pretty
fine.
cool.
Perfectly fine.
They just made it to where anybody can now pick up the game and play it and not have all the complaints that we talked about when we talked about the episode. So
Okay.
there is now a pretty good, strong likelihood that you could pick up the game and enjoy it yourself if you wanted to join Matt and I one night.
Eh.
Yeah, no, it's still a shooter game. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, they did a lot of changes, and you could definitely tell it's entering its end of life cycle. So,
Okay.
but it's cool. It's cool. There's a lot of cool stuff, but we'll talk about it next week. Um, okay. Well, with that, guys, please remember that you do matter. We love you and we care about you, and we're really glad you're around, and we're really glad you're here hanging out with us. And as always, that's our end goal with the podcast is just like two friends hanging out. That's what we're doing. So that's what we wanted for you as well.
Yeah.
So please know that you're loved. Please know that you have a community with us. Feel free to join our Discord. Well, not feel free. Join our Discord. Definitely join our Discord. We've got a lot of really fun people in there. And yeah. Little quick shout out again to Jules. Jules, thank you so much for helping us out.
Thank you, Jules.
Thank you for setting that up for us. That was amazing. You've done amazing work. Also, quick shout out to our mods, Matt and Cole, both guests on
Yeah.
the podcast. They're going to be our mods. Appreciate you guys helping moderate our community, even though if a lot of the moderation is going to need to be on me. Yeah. Anything else, Kyle? You wanna add anything else?
Yeah, I hate this part, but if you could review, like, subscribe,
Yes,
whatever you're on, all
please.
that stupid stuff, it does help us out.
Gives us
It takes
exposure.
3 seconds.
Yep.
But mostly, like, Dak was saying, just come hang out with us on Discord.
Yep.
We're gonna be in there every day, just hanging out. You can post your memes, post your pets, post the music you're listening to,
Post your food. We got all
post your
these
food,
stuff.
do whatever you
Yeah.
want. Just come hang out. Just an easy way to like connect with people who have shared interests like
Mm-hmm.
we do. It's not just, you know, I know a lot of the stuff we talk about is Star Wars based, but it's literally anything you want to talk about. Even
Yeah.
if you're just going through like a rough patch right now and want someone to talk to, there's a community here. It
Yep.
might be small, but there's people here that'll listen and help you out.
You got people from literally all different walks of life,
All
all in that
yeah,
on that
and
group.
all over the country too.
Yep.
So
You've got every different type of people in that group.
mhm.
Kyle, myself included, have experienced a lot of shit in our lives. So if you feel like there's nobody that's going to get it, statistically speaking, somebody will get it in the
You
Discord.
got good odds. You
Yeah.
got good odds.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm excited for the podcast and where we're going to go in the future now that we're starting to do a
Mhm.
really good job of building a base within our community. Kyle and I still want to get to the point where we feel like we're putting out the product that we want it to be.
Mhm.
But hey, we're all trying to figure this out. So come figure it out with us. That being said,
For sure.
this has been episode what? What episode is this?
This is episode 12.
Our episode 12 went way better than the other episode 12s that exist out there, i.e. Star Wars. Anyways,
There's no episode 12 of Star Wars.
well, if you want to like consider the movies, that would be like what?
That's only 9.
Solo? Well, yeah, but that'd be like at that point Solo would have come
I
out.
liked Solo.
You're the only person that liked Solo. Anyways, bye guys.
Well, fine.
Just kidding.
Bye.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyways, this has been a pretty quick episode. Sorry we went all over the place, guys. Honestly, Ahsoka is probably what we're gonna be talking about for the next
Mhm.
few weeks. We've got some guests down the pipeline. We've got some exciting people that are gonna be joining us soon. My lightsaber comes in probably 2 weeks from now.
Ooh.
Yeah, got a lot of stuff.
That's pretty much like all our messages
Oh
lately is like
fuck yeah,
Ahsoka and then like trying to find
lightsabers. Which
lightsabers.
lightsaber we're gonna buy?
Yep.
Other
I'm gonna get that
shout out.
Mustafar one for
Shit,
sure.
let me do that shout out really quick. Saber Theory,
Go for it. Go for it.
huge shout out to the guys over at Saber Theory. Absolutely stellar customer service. Not only did they do a 20% off discount on all of their lightsabers for Ahsoka's launch, but then when I mistakenly order the wrong lightsaber or change my mind afterwards. I just simply shot
Mhm.
them an email and they changed my order. Simple as that. They didn't even charge me
Can't
for the
beat that.
difference. Not saying that they're
Can't
going to
beat
do that
that.
with you guys, but in my circumstance, they just said, don't even worry about it. It's only $8. We'll send it out to you. So
That's super
amazing.
cool.
And yeah, even for a reseller, because they really only have a few exclusives, but even for a reseller, they've got just stellar customer service and there's plenty of, discount links out there. Um, Maybe eventually they'll be a sponsor, maybe once we meet their requirements, but it'd be
That'd
cool.
be
I know.
wonderful.
You just, yeah. What really
Get
we
all
just want them
stocked up on some
exactly. That's
savers
what I was gonna
for
say.
sure.
Yeah, we just want the hookup. We want to turn into the new Tuca. I'm gonna become the new Dylan Tuca, except he knows how to do TikTok and I don't. So, and he's talented and has like a collection of like 60 lightsabers. That's a hyperbole, 30 something, but still. I don't know.
I'm just trying to get one.
I know. I'm just trying to get my one. I already have plans to buy like 5 more. Well, that was my another Catholic goodbye. That's my typical Catholic goodbye in this podcast. Anyways, goodbye everybody. This was episode
Yeah.
12. Kyle, say goodbye to everybody.
Thanks for hanging out. We'll see you next time.
Unfortunately. Hey guys, it's me, Dak. I just wanted to say, first off, again, thank you guys so much for being supporters of us, and thank you for listening to us every single episode. We are going to start opening up a Patreon. Patreon is going to include a lot of different things, but we're going to line all of that out in episode 15. In the meantime, here's a preview of some of the things we'll likely actually totally show in the Patreon. But, guys, we thank you guys so much. Anyways, I'm going to play it. Stop rambling. Oh, it's...
We didn't really spoil anything, honestly.
I
Not too
know. I'm going to
much.
cut that little bit where I said spoilers.
I still,
I
there's
need to start
some
writing
get
down all my
I'm
thoughts.
okay with.
Yeah. I need to like write it down or at least email you like, "Hey, this is all my thoughts." One of these days we're going to get to the level where we can just have a producer and then all of this will just be so much better.
Mhm.
Cuz then somebody could produce it all for us and then we can just,
Maybe look on Fiverr. Who knows?
I mean, they actually do. Yeah. I had a friend offer, but it was going to be like something like I can't remember what the price was. It wasn't cheap, but it wasn't ridiculous. And when you looked
Hmm.
at it like week over week, it started to stack up. I think it was something
Okay.
like 50 an episode or something. Yeah.
Okay.
So it takes a lot. But um anyways,
Or even if just there's like a better way to promote it.
yeah.
I don't know. Cause like obviously there's TikTok, but like there's so much to their algorithm that it's confusing.
Same thing with YouTube. Same thing with
Hmm.
YouTube. I think we need to create a Patreon. So I was thinking about this.
I would be okay with that if we can kind of come up with something like worth
Yeah.
spending money on.
I think we need to create a Patreon in some capacity. Um so that way if we have monthly supporters, then it can at least dump back in to like all these fees and stuff that we have to
Hmm.
pay. Because that's what I was thinking when I was trying to think of like how we want to do like the roles, because like the Jedi Council, and then of course anybody that is a mod. But I was almost thinking like maybe masters could be supporters, because right now the masters role is the one that's just kind of like out there.
Hmm.
I don't know. I don't know. That's
So we'll
see that's the
definitely have
challenge
to
with
think of like what the perks would
exactly,
be
and that's
because I
the
don't really
shitty part with the
know how to do
Patreon.
that with a podcast.
Yeah, like what do we do? Like there's no script, so it's not like somebody can see a script early.
You could do obviously you could do like a shout out. That's the easiest one.
Yeah, at the very end of the video or something.
If we had merch, I'd send merch, but we don't.
Yeah.
But that would I mean if we figured out the Patreon thing, that money could go into
Yeah.
making that. Um,
Hey guys, so that was kind of a preview of what it's going to be like on our Patreon. We're going to show some behind the scenes kind of things, and honestly, we want you guys to be a part of the conversation as well. We're going to line all of that out in episode 15. We're not going to talk about that in depth today, but that's definitely a preview of what you guys are going to see. Thank you guys again for hanging out and listening to the rest of the episode, and definitely thank you for hanging out and watching on YouTube. Don't forget to like and subscribe down below. Also, follow our socials. I think I should be able to post links soon. It's a weird YouTube thing. We're trying to figure it all out while we go along.